Welcome back. We're coming to you live from our headquarters here in Johannesburg, and you're still tuned in to Salam Media with myself, Salalo Makudiri, your home of humanitarian journalism. And today we'll be exploring, I think, quite a really interesting move. We'll be exploring Ireland's recent move to formally recognize and welcome its first full ambassador from Palestine. This is a historic step that solidifies its diplomatic stance. And for many years, Ireland has been a vocal critic of Israel's actions in Palestine and calling for justice and accountability in the face of human rights violations in Gaza and beyond. This decision, following Ireland's recognition of Palestine statehood earlier this year, is seen by some as a bold act of solidarity with Palestine. However, given the complexities of European Union relations and international politics, questions remain about Ireland's true motivations and the potential impact of this decision on the EU stance toward Israel. And joining us to delve deeper into Ireland's latest diplomatic decision and its implications, and also Ireland's role in the larger Palestinian struggle, is Declan Kearney. He's the national chairperson of Sinn Féin, a prominent political party in Ireland, and is also a steadfast advocate for Palestinian rights. Declan, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Salam Media. Really appreciate you giving us your time.
Thank you very much. It's very good to be with you this morning.
Pleasure's all ours. Declan, Ireland's decision to establish formal diplomatic ties with Palestine has made waves internationally. In your view, how significant is this step in the broader fight for Palestinian recognition on the global stage, but also specifically in Europe?
Yes, I think that the significance of it in Europe specifically is of most importance. Ireland in May of this year recognised the status of Palestine. Then subsequently formal diplomatic relations were established between the Irish state and the state of Palestine at the end of September. So yesterday's appointment of the Palestinian ambassador, she has been head of mission for a number of years now, was a logical extension of all of those steps. I was with the ambassador yesterday. I formally congratulated her on her elevation to the position of ambassador. She's very pleased. In terms of my party's perspective on this matter, this is long overdue, but nevertheless, a very welcome and bold decision being taken by Ireland. And I think it sends a very strong message right across the European Union that other states now must follow suit. Of course, Ireland itself can do much more. And my party has been pressing the Irish government now to accelerate passage of the stalled Occupied Territories Bill, also to move to pass into law the legislation brought forward as a bill by my own party in the Irish Parliament in Dublin, that is the illegal Israeli settlements divestment bill. But Ireland can also give lead in the European Union in a very proactive way by calling on the European Union to now make a decision to end the EU-Israel Association Agreement.
I want to touch a bit more on the EU and also, Ireland's relationship with the bloc. Irish Prime Minister Simon Harris has urged the EU to reconsider its partnership with Israel. Realistically, do you think this is an attainable expectation within the EU, or do you foresee Ireland's stance being largely symbolic given Europe's existing ties with Israel, and one that are very, very close, and a lot of other countries within the EU bloc very, very unequivocal when it comes to their support for Israel?
If you go back to the beginning of this genocidal war back in October of last year, you'll recall that the stance of the European Union was being dictated by the elite, which has responsibility for leadership of the European Union. Ursula von der Leyen and others like her attempted to manufacture a European Union consensus of unconditional support for the actions of Israel. And for a period of time, they attempted to make the European Union speak with one voice. So when Ireland, Norway and Spain stepped away from that attempt to establish a consensus and impose upon the people of Ireland and the Irish government a position that was an absolute anathema to our view of the Palestinian struggle, then we began to see the dismantling of those efforts to enforce a consensus on the European Union. So that was the first important step to be taken. It is clear that the European Union position is no longer monolithic. Von der Leyen and others do not reflect the wider sentiments of European Union member states, and most importantly, those citizens who live within and vote within those states. So over the last 13 months, there have been huge rallies of solidarity in support of the Palestinian people against this genocidal war, calling for an end to the occupation, the apartheid, and the annexation of Palestine. And since the Israelis have opened up a new front and commenced an aggressive war against the people of Lebanon, people across Europe have doubled down on their solidarity, and we now no longer stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine. We stand absolutely in solidarity with the people of Lebanon. So I do believe that it is a realistic prospect to mount a campaign to bring an end to the EU-Israel Association Agreement, which is the pact to which you have just referred.
What kinds of challenges or maybe resistance do you foresee Ireland facing from other, EU member states in this push for a more critical stance on Israel?
Firstly, we have to get the Irish government itself to adopt the necessity of arguing for an end to the association agreement. And we have not arrived at that point yet. In reality, while Ireland recognised the state of Palestine earlier this year, it took 10 years of very significant pressure by my party, which originally brought forward the proposal to recognise the state of Palestine in 2014, to have the government, in fact, enact that position. Ironically, 10 years ago, the Irish Parliament overwhelmingly voted in support of recognition of the state of Palestine, but successive administrations have refused to move on that issue. Now we've got to that point. There is more work to do. We will remain very closely engaged with the Irish government, lobbying and asking and requesting, demanding that it does much more within the European Union. But ultimately, the Irish government's position has pivoted and moved as a direct result of the huge groundswell of support within the population of Ireland in support of Palestine. And that will be critical, in my opinion, to ensure that the Irish government does in fact move to a much more decisive and progressive position in ensuring that the European Union ends this relationship with Israel, that it argues very forcefully across the European Union within its institutions that there is a necessity for an isolation of the Israeli government. There is an isolation of Netanyahu's regime, until such times as there is a full and complete ceasefire, that we see a withdrawal of Israeli forces from both the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, that we see an end to the aggression against Lebanon, and that we also see full humanitarian aid being brought into the Gaza Strip on the scale that is absolutely required at this point in time.
I want to turn my focus on public and political support in Ireland and just the general sentiment. Ireland's public support for Palestine, I think, is quite evident. But do you feel the same level of commitment from Irish political leaders across the spectrum? Or is this, a cause that Sinn Féin and a few other allies primarily are championing?
Historically, Sinn Féin has always stood on the side of the Palestinian people. And we have given very strong, decisive political leadership, both within the parliamentary arena and outside of that. But you will know, because we share the same history, Ireland and South Africa, of occupation and apartheid and repression. The reality is that the Palestinian people enjoy precisely the same history as the people of Ireland. There's a very close affinity between our two peoples, because we know very well the experience of genocide and forced starvation, being pushed off our lands and then being subject to occupation and apartheid. It's for those reasons that instinctively Irish people have a view that we will not stand by and remain silent while occupation and apartheid are imposed upon others, particularly our Palestinian sisters and brothers. And this was true of the solidarity that Ireland demonstrated during the dark days of apartheid, when Irish citizens stood up in huge numbers, demanding that action be taken internationally against the apartheid regime, that a global anti-apartheid campaign was mounted, and Ireland played a very, very strong role in relation to that. But the point I would like to make to you is that while we in Ireland in that era of 1987 successfully moved the position of the Irish government against the import of South African goods to Ireland, in actual fact, Irish government policy at that point in time was changed directly as a result of an iconic industrial strike that was taken forward by young working class trade unionists in Dublin City, when they stood up and said they would not handle South African apartheid fruit. And as a consequence of a 2 and more year strike, Irish government policy was changed. Individual moral actions matter. And when ordinary people stand up together collectively and in solidarity, everything is possible. And it is indeed possible to change the positions of government parties. So there is not complete unanimity across the Irish political spectrum on the scale of pressure that must be applied to Israel. Different parties come to this at different speeds. Sinn Féin's view is that this is the time. It is absolutely critical. It is essential now for humanity, and indeed for the protection and the solidarity of the Palestinian people, that maximum sanctions, economic and political, are imposed. And Ireland must stand up as a voice in the global community, demanding that those states in the West which continue to arm and fund the Israeli murder machine stop doing that with immediate effect.
No, definitely. Just in closing, intangible and I think in realistic terms, what kind of impact could this new representation of Ireland having a Palestinian ambassador have on Ireland-Palestine relations, and how might it influence Ireland's policies moving forward?
Oh, I think it will be hugely important, because this institutionalizes the decision to elevate the head of mission to the position of ambassador yesterday, following on from formal recognition being established, formal diplomatic relations being put in place at the end of September. It institutionalizes within the political and the diplomatic arena the relationship between the state of Ireland and the people of Ireland with our Palestinian sisters and brothers. So this creates a new platform entirely for how Ireland can express and mobilize its solidarity with the Palestinian people. And I do believe that it places increased pressure upon the Irish government to do much more, because now they are directly engaged no longer with a mission on behalf of the Palestinian people, but they are dealing directly with a formal embassy representing the Palestinian Authority and the people of Palestine across the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and also in Gaza itself. So to that extent, and we are about to have a general election in the Irish state at the end of this month. The announcement for the election date will be made tomorrow. I expect it will take place on the 29th of November. In the aftermath of that election, there will be a new Irish government of whatever complexion, and therefore that new Irish government will have at the top of its in tray Palestine, a new Palestinian ambassador appointed in Dublin, an embassy with all of its full range of privileges and protocols extended to it under the Vienna Convention. So I think that the new Irish government, come the aftermath of the 29th of November, will face a new expectation for further and increased political action on Palestine. both in terms of solidarity, but also practical, political, diplomatic interventions, and giving and taking the lead in relation to the isolation of Netanyahu's fanatical regime.
No, definitely. I think we're going to leave it there for now, Declan. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Really, really appreciate it. And I hope we'll be chatting again in the not so distant future, just to
Very good to be with you all
discuss.
this morning. Thanks for having me.
Just to discuss the elections and how they'll be going. Do you think the voters in Ireland are also looking at this issue as one that is top of the agenda? How the different political parties have an approach on Gaza?
I absolutely do believe that Gaza will feature within this election campaign. There are huge economic and social challenges within the Irish state, not least the housing crisis and the health crisis within the 26-county state. So these will be prominent within the campaign. But I do believe that Palestine and Ireland's role in bringing an end to the genocide and the occupation will also feature very prominently, alongside a renewed momentum in the conversation around Irish reunification. So I think that these are going to be top-line issues in relation to the campaign. And I think that's a good thing, because it will ensure that all of the parties move in an increasingly progressive position on Palestine, generally in terms of international relations. And I also hope in relation to taking a much more progressive position in relation to Irish reunification.
Well, there you have it. Declan Kearney coming to us live from Belfast. He's the Sinn Féin national chairperson. Really appreciate your time, sir.
You're very welcome.
There you go. And with that being said, we have come to the end of today's edition of News and Views. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We've covered a lot of ground today, from pivotal shifts in global diplomacy to pressing issues impacting communities right here at home. These conversations remind us of the complexities and connections between local and international events and the importance of staying informed and engaged. As always, we aim to bring you voices that challenge, inform, and inspire action. We'll be back again tomorrow for the Friday edition of News and Views, and this will be with Inayat Wadi. He'll be bringing you more insightful interviews and analysis on the stories that matter most to you. Until then, stay safe, stay informed, and have a productive day. We leave you in the capable hands of Inayat Wadi on the Wednesday nights with Inayat. They had another interesting and gripping conversation. This was around the US elections and their impact on the Middle East. This has been News and Views on Salam Media with myself, Salalo Makwidiri. We'll see you again next week. Sharp, sharp.
We are here in the middle of a Zahra neighborhood. The whole neighborhood is already destroyed. More than 17 towers are down. Here, as you can see, the firefighters trying their best to help. The people are still under the rubble. A lot of the people.
Join Hamza on his exclusive South African tour as he shares his personal experiences, never before seen footage, and powerful insights on the ongoing genocide in Gaza. This is more than just a talk. It's an invitation to witness Gaza through the lens of Hamza Sha'alan. Don't miss this opportunity to meet the photojournalist who brought Gaza's pain and perseverance to the world in its darkest moments. Follow Salam Media on social media pages for more on this tour and be part of the conversation.